Hello and welcome back to, well, the car. It's been a while since I've had to film in the car, but that's kind of the whole point of this particular sort of housekeeping update episode for you guys. This has been a weird week on top of a weird month or so at Archaeosoup Towers, and so a wee little update for me, for Mrs. Soup, and indeed for Andy, and the next episode of Watching Brief I think is worthwhile putting out there. For us, for Mrs. Soup and I, it has been odd in so much as for the past 4 weeks, almost precisely to the day, we have been, let's see, it's the 20th of January, so since the 20th of December or thereabouts, we have been either unwell, in pain, or unable to sleep properly, or a combination of those three. This has been partly linked with our lovely dog Indy and his dementia. Christmas and New Year was awful for us. Actually, he was going through a real dip, not knowing what was day, what was night, and doing lots of panting and panicking, which meant basically I was getting 2 to 3 hours sleep a night if I was lucky. That was then followed towards the end of that period, so just before Christmas, and then on New Year's Eve, I had an emergency filling for something that I knew I had to have done at the end of this month, but nonetheless I had to have it done because a nerve was exposed. That emergency filling cracked, and on New Year's Eve I had to have essentially the opening stages of root canal performed to try and seal the nerve in on my first premolar, which will need full root canal at the end of January. And thankfully, though, by then, or crossing over with then, Indy was sort of, crossing over, down and up. Indy was on the up. He's now on a bit of a plateau. He's much more calm, much more reliably sleeping, and much more easy to reassure, which is fantastic. But nonetheless, that also meant that I wasn't getting much sleep. And then on top of that, we've both had, Mrs. Soup and I have both had a horrible cold that one of our good friends seemingly had a very similar version of, that brings with it nausea, migraines, dizziness. And it comes and goes in waves over the course of about 5 weeks. So hopefully we're approaching the midpoint of that, if not towards the end of that whole thing. But hence the slightly manic laughter for my part. And then unfortunately last week into this week, Mr. Brockman, Andy, has had an oncoming bereavement in the family. It's not a shock or a surprise. This person was an older member of the family, but it has meant dropping agendas for Watching Brief, dropping everything and rushing to support loved ones, of course. So there we go, and probably next week now. We've had to throw out this week more or less, because tomorrow I am delivering a Mesoamerican workshop for the first time in 3 years. I think the first time I was asked to deliver this, the only time actually I was asked to put this together, was for a school about 3 years ago, and out of nowhere last year someone said, "Oh, can you come in January and do a workshop on Mayans, Aztecs, and etc, etc." So that's happening tomorrow, which means I need to try and prepare for that, remind myself of the pertinent parts of the workshop, and relax, try and get some sleep as well tonight. So yeah, update, you are updated. That's where we're at, and next week you'll be getting a Watching Brief, which will revolve around the slightly controversial question as to whether or not archaeologists should start selling the artifacts that we recover. Now that's an interesting query, isn't it, to hold in your head, and we'll be exploring the reasons for that question. I think the question is coming from me mainly next week in the Watching Brief. Now, the reason why this month has been primarily Watching Brief episodes is because I was meant to be having a month or thereabouts following a terrible Christmas New Year in terms of rest, of just taking it slow, doing one video a week, you know, with some live streaming as well, obviously. Do feel free to follow and join in on the Twitch streams as and when they happen. But again, insert manic laughter. That hasn't quite happened. So I will be starting back in February with hopefully maybe twice a month videos in addition to watching brief. So weekly watching brief, fortnightly other videos, and I already have one planned on the fart battles of Edo or Edo. I need to check the pronunciation. Period. Japan. Yes, you heard me right. Fart battles. Magnificent. So yeah, I'll be doing that in February and going from there. Goodness me. It has been a crazy month in terms of rest and relaxation. That said, though, it was also wonderful to see family. We had the in-laws over, Mrs. Soup's family, for Christmas. It was magnificent to see other people in the house for the first time properly in 2 years. So that, you know, by no means has it been just, you know, unleavened nastiness and awfulness. But yeah, hence this week I am sitting in the car while Mrs. Soup is dozing at home, and the dog is also relaxing, making a video before I pop to the post office and post a trowel. So thank you guys for watching. Yeah, I really am a little bit punch drunk, hence the sort of laughter. But it's not been all bad, but nonetheless this week had to be slightly written off because of what happened in House Brockman. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week. Also, I've been getting some lovely comments lately on the channel from a very wide range of sources. You know, people looking at Neolithic China, at the theory of material culture and how it interacts with personal display, on interviews that I've done with other archaeologists, on all different stuff. And it's been really nice to get. I've also been getting some very interesting, slightly intense, if not slightly crazy, responses from people as well. Magna Carta and COVID-19, for example. But regardless, really nice to see actually in the new year some really positive comments, either asking questions or just you know, just noting that they appreciate some of this information being free to view on a platform like YouTube. So that's been very encouraging. Anyway, as I say, take care. Hopefully, fingers crossed, tomorrow the workshop goes well, and I'll see you guys next week with Andy for Watching Brief, where I'll be asking rather cheekily the question, should we just start selling stuff? Maybe that's the thing to do. Just start selling archaeology, and that will solve all of our budgetary problems. Yeah. Right, okay, bye guys. It's been well, actually it's been awkward trying to find a place to film. Traffic, the sunlight. I need to, like I say, pop into the post office. Yeah, interesting. Right, bye.